finally not freezing in the shop right now. We got the heater going. It's like 53 degrees in here right now, it says. Definitely doable. Definitely not 20 degrees that we've been dealing with recently. And what we're doing is just taking all of these measurements, and we already did all this, but I didn't film it because it's kind of boring, kind of like, whatever. Just a bunch of measurements of all these holes. Went out and got some metal, got some 1x3 box tubing. Also got a very thick plate. It's over there, doesn't really matter. And I also have tubing that I already purchased before. I'm gonna bend it up. Basically just gonna make this, but very open, because these are the stock motor mounts here. But it's not gonna have any of this. It's just gonna come straight down, around, you know, very clean. And we need all of that to be clean so that this beast can fit in there. Obviously way bigger than a MIATA motor. And hence why we're making the subframe. It just won't fit in that thing. So my dad should be coming in here soon. He's the brains behind all of this. I'm kind of just here learning, and I guess I'm gonna be filming and stuff, so you guys can learn with us. So we cut out these two, which is basically going to replace this. I'm going to draw up the tabs probably tonight and then get them cut tomorrow out of some thick metal. So that's going to kick off the bottom here, kick off the top here, and then we need to build a tower out of some bent tube or something to come up and do this. But yeah, that's what we got so far. 1.5" bend up. Here's the bender. We're welding in a brace to keep it nice and straight. I didn't bring my tripod mount. Again, I have my tripod here, but I don't have the mount on my camera. I messed up, sorry. It wasn't that exciting today anyway, so we'll run through what got done today. So here's some plates that we cut the brackets out of. This should have taken probably 20 minutes maximum, just to pull it out, set it up, cut it, everything, but it didn't. Long story short, it got done. You got the one up here, a tab there, and then a tab down on the bottom. So all we did really was get those cut, bolt the tabs in, put our piece in that we made yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was. Same video for you guys, doesn't matter. This is the temporary piece just to hold it in there. The motor's got too much junk on it. There's a lot of weird stuff I gotta look into, like the coolant right here. Kind of gonna cut into the firewall, or if we can just block that off, that'll be cool. But the wire harness was destroyed from the junkyard I got it from, and I got to take off some accessories. The headers also hit these ears that everybody cuts off on all their swaps anyway. We got to cut these out, take the headers off, all the other accessories. All right, so unfortunately, I drew up something for the CNC machine, and I forgot the thumb drive. If you know me, big shocker, I forget everything. I swore I threw it in the camera bag, but apparently I didn't. So instead, we're just gonna be tearing down the motor. Not tearing it down, but removing all the accessories. We'll just have a time lapse real quick. Cutting up brackets, and they are going to be replacing these ones. Sorry, it's a little dark. See if the camera catches up here. So yeah, it's going to be for our control arm mounts. So I need to make 8 of these things. Let me just click start real quick. So basically, these are going to go right on this box tube you're looking at, and they're just gonna come straight off. Maybe some will go right there. Have to see exactly where they all line up. Give you a better picture, we'll come outside. It's brighter out here. These 2 holes are the ones I was pointing at where they mount, and then we have to measure from basically here, which honestly that one is pretty much right on the hole, but we'll measure from here to here and etc. And then weld those all on. So I was just talking to my dad. He says that we think we should set the motor in here again, We set it in, and I don't think I filmed any of that with all of the accessories on, the headers, etc. Obviously, as you can see, it's torn down now. We're gonna get it in just to make sure that the front bore doesn't have to move. We already know that these need cut out, but before we start welding the suspension brackets on, we just gotta make sure that it actually fits in properly. All right, well, copyright strike. We ain't making money anyway, it don't matter. All right, so I measured out, like I was saying earlier, from the holes and got all of this lined up. I just brought this over here, so let's see. Pretty close. And on that one, it looks pretty close as well. So I think I did something right, because it looks like if we had welded tabs on here, it would probably bolt up. Now what we can do is actually use this piece to kind of give us our perfect spacing. So even if these are a little off, we can adjust that slightly, get those tabs welded on. I'm just going to repeat the same thing over here, and we'll be good to go. So unfortunately, I don't have a good computer out here that I can do design work in. Fusion 360 is the program I use. I only have the laptop, and it's just good enough to run the plasma table and get everything cut up, all that. Currently working on is actually the pieces that I just cut out. They're just going to need to be redone. And basically, this is where the hole needs to be. So I'm going to program it to put the hole in like those. And then shave off the back so that we're at the right spot. Weld them up there. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, it's a new day and new cut on the CNC table. So this is what we're working with. These were the old brackets. Now you see on the back we had it marked out where we thought it was going to be. Ended up not being that way at all. So as you can see now. Also, after I stripped down the motor, there was nowhere to lift it up. So I made a plate that I'm going to weld like a hook on top of. Probably going to sell that. Alright, just finished grinding off the old plates. So these are going to be going on there for our control arms. So I'm going to bolt the control arms to the plates, get them all lined up to my marks, start welding. Alright, not the prettiest welds, but they'll hold, so it doesn't matter much. So now to connect our top control arm, or upper control arm, whatever you want to call it, we have this tube that holds this massive bolt right there. And this is at an angle, it's not flat like everything else on the bottom. So I'm going to be making a little piece. It's kind of like the shape of this almost. To then weld to our top plates on there so that we can figure out this angle, and then later I will draw up a part that we can cut. That way everything will just be on the CNC machine after this is all done, and we don't have to do anything like this again. I don't know if you can hear that, but everything hitting the roof right now is snow. Back to being cold. I don't know how long this will stay around. Hopefully not very long, and we'll get back to our 50s and at least 40s maybe, but these 30 numbers, get the hell out of here. So yesterday I ran out of MIG wire, so I ran and grabbed some MIG. So we're gonna load this bad boy back up, ready to start welding again. And today should be a massive day. We got the little stuff done. Time for the big stuff. And I'm excited. I also remembered my tripod mount, so we can get some more cool time-lapse footage or whatever of actually doing the work instead of just these updates. My bad for forgetting it, but we're about to crank the heat in here. Not crank, but at least get it a little bit warmer than what it is. until we start welding, I guess. Then we gotta unplug it. But for now, I'll take it. Well, the heat lasted a little bit shorter than I thought, so I actually have to weld in the plates for the side, which will then be housing our little tube for our suspension bolt to go through, and that will then connect to our top control arm or upper control arm, whatever. So yeah. Pry bar action. Oh, that's hot. Damn it, fool. I still got fingertips. Can't rub a bank yet. So we're skipping all the boring parts in the video. What we've been doing is just figuring out the length and angle for our connecting pieces to knock out our temp pieces. What in the world is... Ouch! What did you do? An impact fell on my foot. So this monstrosity, I'd love to know the reasoning behind this. Just route this inside the motor, no? Huh? So just route it inside the motor, like why take it out? Right. Anyway, so this is getting in the back. This piece that I'm holding in my right hand is touching the firewall, so maybe now we can see where the motor mount's supposed to sit. Yeah, just put an electric motor in it. Alright, so after fitting the motor in here, we see that we have to extend the bottom subframe, the tube, out, and we're not going to sit the motor as far back, so we have some space back here for all the coolant stuff. I was thinking maybe I could just delete this, but after looking at it, there's no way to do that. And then from the bell to the shifter hole, we got just a little bit that we're gonna have to cut there, so it's gonna be almost in the same spot. We've got plenty of room up front for all the cooling needs. So we're going to come an inch out from this, chop this whole front section off, and then put in a 5-inch piece, cut right now, and extend this out 5 inches. That way the motor can sit down in, obviously. Steering rack is going to be a big problem. We're going to have to cross that road when we get there. But that'll put our motor mounts right in line with this. So we're just going to come up, like triangle brace into that. And that should be good for the motor mounts. And then that will be good for the clearance, which then gives us clearance there, which then puts our shifter in the right spot. And it's all trial and error. You can't get discouraged. It's kind of a bummer because we really thought that we got most of the things correct. But you live and learn is what it is. All right, so we did some measurements off of this. I used a flat edge and kind of just figured out where it should be. Flat edge and transferred all those measurements onto here, and that's my center point. So I just got to drill these out. My dad had the idea of cutting out this piece from the old subframe and just using it for now. As you can see, it's super thick and also thin, or it's super thick but also super small. So it's hard to find. I couldn't find it anywhere around here. I can't even really find it online. But for the final product, I'll find it online, be able to source it. That way it's all the same. We don't have to hack up a stock one to make an aftermarket one. So I drilled these out to a 3/4 inch, which isn't even big enough to have this slide down through it. I don't have any bigger drill bits than this, so That kind of goes out the window. But I have a drill bit that's perfect, the same size as this. So I'm just going to drill it to this size because that's obviously the size of the bolt that has to go through here. And I'm going to be welding these to the outside. So to give you guys a picture of what I'm talking about, this side compared to this side. It's kind of crazy to say, but the subframe is done. I don't know, I'm sitting here looking at it, it's right in front of me, but I almost can't believe it. We got the upper control arm all finished up, welded up. I didn't film that because I'm an L YouTuber, my bad. Obviously the bottom's been done for a while, and the only thing, oh, it's not done. No wonder I couldn't believe it. I need a steering rack mount, but we can't do that until we get the motor situated again, which then requires more work. We actually have to, don't mind my messy hair, I've been wearing a hat. But so in order to find where the steering rack needs to go, we have to cut out these. We moved some brake lines over, so we're going to be cutting right along there, and then on this side we're going to be cutting pretty deep into here because we need a bunch of room on that side. See where the oil pan fits because it's a front sump, and I think we might go behind the front sump pan, like on the bottom of the pan. You obviously can't go forward, it'll just be way too much of an angle to go back to the steering, so behind it is probably where it's going to go, and then we'll get motor mounts. The piece that's all done up right now, I'm probably just going to sell by itself without motor mounts, and then that way anybody can just do any swap they want and have a subframe that they can just buy and bolt up, and they don't have to go through all the work we just went through. So next course of action will be once again bolting this in. Another thing that's kind of crazy, even though that would be hanging down, is this thing could be a roller, which is pretty sweet, so we can get it out of here if we need to. We've done this a few times, so we got the thing in again, and now time to lift the motor up, set her in there, see what's happening. Probably pop that out because that's probably going to be in the way. I don't know if it's in the way right now, but it's only a couple bolts, so I might just go ahead and remove that. That's going to have to be entirely redone. So as you can see, it comes in, and that's where the headers are going to go. So we're actually going to get like a race shaft, and it's going to come out pretty straight and then kick over to our steering. So that's going to have to all be done. But yeah, let's get this motor up and in, see what happens. That was super simple. I took out way more bolts than I actually needed to. I ended up taking out all those bolts, but you don't have to. That's just for the pedal assembly. We were just talking about it, me and my dad were just talking about it. This hole angles it out. As you can see, there's obviously a universal joint there, and it's straight right now. So theoretically, if we make that hole straight, we don't even have to buy a new one. We can just use the stock one, which is awesome. Because if we can just use the stock one, we just get some universals for the end, and then it'll be coming out straight, universal, kick it over, bada bing, bada boom. And just like that, she's a roller. Once again, it's been a roller for a year now, but now it's a roller with a custom subframe. Heck yeah. Hey. Everything bolted up pretty easy, you know. It's suspension, so you gotta work with it a little bit, but solid. Heck yeah. So the whole thing has come to a screeching halt. I kind of messed up. This is a VQ HR motor. So we noticed here, there's a position, there's a crankshaft position sensor hole, and then these two bolt holes. If we look at these, those two bolt holes aren't straight up and down. They're kind of like kicked out. And then there's also no spot for a sensor. And battery pack died. We're back. So now I need to do some research on if I can cut this bell housing off and slap on the proper bell housing and then get it to bolt up. But then probably everything changes from that point. So I don't know if that's even going to work, because what made it stick out to us that it wasn't correct, the shaft comes in here and then we can line up one dowel pin, but then whenever you try to twist it to get the other dowel pin in, it keeps hitting this, like it hits the top of this instead of spinning. So this is in a different position, as well as these are in different positions. So it's probably just not going to work, and I need to sell this and buy a new one. Which then brings us to the end of the saga for now. Resuming whenever I find parts.
I guess I'm just a shit guy. What to